Guys, I want to ask you guys some questions. We're going to look at 4 or 5 passages today. But I want to ask the question, and I really would love to have some dialogue. Now, my dad is still in Roatan, so he's usually fairly quick to kind of chime in and such, but he's not. He may be watching online. I don't know. Maybe he'll call. Right? There's always that chance, right? But I do want to ask you guys this question. What does love look like in the Bible? What does love look like in the Bible? In fact, in the Bible, I think is important because we can give all kinds of like definitions of love and everything else. But does somebody want to just chime in with a couple of answers? What do you got? What does love look like in the Bible? What comes to mind? Anybody? Okay, it looks like Jesus. Do you want to be specific? That was a very broad statement. Okay. You think of love. That's good. I mean, I'm not down in your answer one bit. I mean, how can you? You're exactly right. Who else wants to chime in a little bit? Love is unconditional. In the Bible, can you think of examples of unconditional love in the Bible? Jesus died on the cross. He did so unconditionally, even though while we were still sinners, He loved us and died on the cross for us. Lovely. Anyone else? Brian, what do you got? I see your wheel spinning. Putting other people, especially their needs, in front of us. I like that. Mr. Carl?
I think of Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve?
And I think, God, He loved them. And He created, He loved them. That's what He gave it is.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah.
He still loved them.
So Adam and Eve in the garden, God created Adam and Eve, even knowing, because He created us with free will. Guys, love is not love without freedom. Cannot have love without freedom. We're not robots. He can't force us to do that. That's not love. That's called dictatorship, or you can put a whole bunch of other names by it as well. What does love look like in the Bible? Anybody else? Come on, Kim. Let me hear from you, girl. You're usually pretty quick with some of those answers. What you got over there? Did you say God's judgment? That, oh my lands. Can we just stand up and give her a round of applause? Because oh my lands. Who would have ever said that? God's judgment is love. But Jeremiah, that's a hard book. That's a hard book. I applaud your answer. We're gonna dig into some pretty deep stuff, Kim. Good stuff. Anybody else want to chime in? Servanthood. Anything else? Any picture images that come to mind from the cross, or from the Bible? We said the cross. Any other picture images come to mind? All right. So I can't remember. Let's move to the next slide. Did I put 1 Corinthians up there? Do you have a slide, 1 Corinthians 13? Look at that, I did. And I know it's kind of small, especially for you back there in the back. People are online are grumbling because it's even smaller for them to see probably. I'll just read it to you. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all the mysteries of knowledge, and if I have faith that can tell a mountain to get up and move to the other side of the valley, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all of my possessions to the poor, and I give my body to hardship, so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nada, nothing, zilch. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast. It does not boast. Woof. It is not proud. It does not dishonor other people. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight when other people suffer because of the results of evil, but it rejoices with the truth. It always protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, and it always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophets, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. But when I became an adult, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. I love the fact that he included that. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. That's such a powerful passage. Well, you could just look at that every day for a year, I really believe, and I suspect have the Spirit reveal and show you things from that you've not seen before. One of the examples of love, I was expecting somebody immediately to say 1 Corinthians chapter 13 when I said, what does love look like in the Bible? Oh, that's 1 Corinthians chapter 13. I was also expecting to somebody say Luke chapter 10 verses 25 through 27. Anyone know what that is the account of? That would be the account of the Good Samaritan. And I put the scripture up there, but I didn't put all the text up there. It's a long story. At least I don't think I did. What is that next slide we got, my friend, in the back? Yep, there it is. Very, very small. The Good Samaritan, Luke chapter 10, verse 25 through 27. And you know the account. You have two groups of people who are at odds with each other. Two groups of people that are, kind of a lot of resistance. You could probably say or liken it to like black and white people, maybe especially like in the 70s or something. Probably that might be a way. You could say the Jews and especially, what's the other religion? I can't even say it, but Islam. Different things like that. But you have two people that were on different ends of the spectrum, and one goes and helps out the fellow who was left beaten on the side of the road. And Jesus says, that's a great example of love. That's a great example of who your neighbor is. You should go and do likewise. It's a great, great story. And then we have this verse from Proverbs, and I mentioned it, I think on Sunday, maybe even on that really is small, isn't it? My apologies. I wasn't trying to be a jerk or anything to you guys. I'll read it to you. It's Proverbs chapter 28, verse 27, and it says, those who give to the poor will lack nothing. That's a promise. That's God's word. That's a stock worth buying into. Those who give to the poor lack nothing, but those who turn a blind eye will receive many curses. Yeah, that's just an interesting passage. So let me ask you guys some questions. Question number one. When you think of love and what love is and what love isn't, do you think that love can be challenging? Do you think that love can be difficult? Do you want to describe that a little bit? And you're going to need to speak really, really loudly, and I'll try to repeat for those that are watching online. But how is it that love can be challenging? How can love be difficult? I'm curious to hear some of your thoughts on this.
I think if you have somebody that you truly love and they do something to hurt you immensely, sometimes it's hard to continue to love.
So Carl says, when you have somebody that you love, maybe even somebody that you're trying to love, I'm going to add it to that if you don't mind. I think that's both the one and the same. You have somebody that you love, somebody that you're trying to love, and they hurt you. They do something to hurt you. sometimes it is hard to continue to maintain, loving to them. And I see a lot of heads nodding. Very good. Brian, what do you got? So Brian's talking about discipline and disciplining your children. That's an interesting. Your mind went an interesting direction when I said this. So are you saying that disciplining is loving, not loving? What are you saying? Brian says discipline is love because you are trying to correct something that is harmful to them. That's, I think, very well said, Brian. It was a nice sentence structure on that. Tough love. Okay, good. What else, guys? Love can be challenging. Love can be difficult. What else do you have? What if somebody just hates you? Does not like you for whatever the reason? I can think of a handful of people who have not liked me for different reasons. I joke around about NASCAR people. Brian was a NASCAR guy. Richard Petty. Oh, Richard Petty could do no harm. I sit there and I sent them an emoji with the smiley face, but the guy's had a zipper going across his mouth like saying, he did say Mario Andretti also, so that was true. But, sometimes people don't like you. Maybe you're not from the right side of the fence. Maybe you root for the wrong team. Maybe you're not the right color. Maybe you're not, I don't know. But what do you do? Is it easy to love somebody who just flat out, if they had their way, would see harm come to you? Is it easy to love somebody like that? Not, is it? Well, you guys are doing really, really good. You're going right down my line here of things. Guys, the thing that I want to kind of talk about next is just the simple fact that in our world today, there are people that are hurting, people that are struggling, people that are searching, people who just cannot figure it out, and they are looking for answers. And kind of to quote the movie that we saw last night, we went and saw the Jesus Revolution movie. They're looking for all the right answers, but in all the wrong places. I think that was a quote from that movie, and an excellent movie, I should add. But the reality is, it's very, very true. There are people today that are just really hurting, really broken, really struggling, and they are trying to find comfort. They're trying to find peace. They're trying to make sense of things. And people will look in all kinds of different directions. Now, this movie last night, I there was no way going and seeing that movie last night that I wasn't going to be able to. I knew I was going to have to talk about this just a little bit, and I'm not going to give you spoiler alerts or anything like that. It's about Jesus and loving people, okay? So if you didn't know that, spoiler alert, right? But the fact is, back in the early 1970s, 1972 was really kind of that pinnacle year, it seemed like. There was a big movement that was taking place across a good portion of our country, and especially out west, some out east, but mostly out west. And if you were to give it a name, what would you call that movement that was taking place back in the early 1970s? It was the what movement? The hippie movement. The hippie movement. You have World War II, you've got Vietnam, you've got all kinds of stuff that's happening. You have people that are saying, I'm not listening to any of the stuff that you've told me in the past, because obviously it's wrong. Look at where we are. and look what's becoming of this. And so we're tuning it out. We're quitting, and we're going a different direction. And I think there really, really were a lot of people. And a lot of these people said, you know what, we know some things that are true and some things that are right. Love. Is love good or is love bad? Are you sure? You guys seem pretty kind of quiet. Am I putting you all to sleep? Is the egg casserole kicking in? So let me ask you again. In all seriousness, love. Is love good or is love bad? It probably could be both, but I think, the truest sense of love, I think we would say, yeah, love is good. We should all aspire to love. You want to argue against me on that right now? That's fine. You're more than welcome to.
The first thing that comes to my mind is love of money.
Oh, okay, the love of money, that sort of thing. Okay.
Envious of somebody else loving.
Yeah, you're good. That's a great caveat to what love is. Yeah. So yeah, we'll take a second and mention that. Absolutely. So let me rephrase and make more clear. Loving other people, love. Not possessions but people. Good, bad, or indifference. It's good. I don't know how you could argue against that. Now let me ask you another thing. Peace. Good, bad, or indifferent? Peace. Having peace. Peace between you and your neighbor. Good, bad, or indifferent? I don't know how you could argue against this. Now, maybe you have an ideology in your mind of peace. You see the guy going like this with a joint in his mouth or, something like that. And I don't know if any of you guys are from that hippie age. I'm not even really sure what the hippie age would be. It would probably be more like our folks maybe are fairly close, somewhere around there. But peace is a good thing. And so you have, this hippie movement. And, what did they say? They had like a slogan. One of their slogans was, hey, and then they would say it. And do you remember what it was? Wasn't it peace, love? I don't think it was rock and roll. It might have been marijuana. I don't know. But you know what? This was something that they, so I think they had it at least, hey, you know what? Yeah, peace and love. And yet they were looked upon, go ahead. Yeah, make love, not war. Okay. And well, are they talking about sex? Or are they talking about, I don't know. But yeah, that was certainly a big phrase. Make love, not war. And they were certainly opposed to the war and that sort of thing. Guys, there are people in the world that are hurting. The movie that we saw last night was about a group of people called the hippies who were hurting, and they were searching. And that's pretty much it. And a lot of them found the answer that they were hoping to find. That's the movie in a nutshell. The thing of it is there are a lot of people out there that are hurting, and there's nobody around really to show them, what the answer is. Guys, what are some different ways today? Let me ask you this. What are some different ways today that people are trying to fill the void that they have in their life, where they are hurting and they don't really know why, and so they turn a whole bunch of different directions to try to fill the void? And Brian, before I call on you, I'll say this, because I heard this and I didn't understand it for a while, and then I really got to the place where I understand it. I call them, and you've heard this. Anyone know what I'm getting ready to say? They're empty wells. They're empty wells. We go to these places thinking that we're going to find nourishment, and we let down the bucket, and maybe, there's like imaginary water or something like that, and maybe we drink it thinking that we're going to get quenched or whatever else, our thirst, but in reality, they're empty. And I do think there's all kinds of things. Brian, you said one already. What's one of the ways? Sports. And I think it's a couple of different ways. I can plug into sports, I'm going to be an athlete. I'm going to plug in. I also think I'm going to watch sports. You know what? I may be treated bad by everybody around me, but I still got the Colts, and they bleed blue, I guess, right? There you go. So I like that. What else are there? What other things? Alcohol. They turn to drugs and alcohol, and then they turn to any other addictions. Guys, I want to tell you, pornography is a stimulus. Guys, mostly, when they're hurting, they turn to pornography. There's endorphins or whatever in your brain and stuff. And it's like cocaine and just whatever, and it does sorts of things, and suddenly they're not feeling at the bottom of that barrel that they were once before, and so forth. So yeah, lots of different kinds of addictions: smoking, cigarettes, tobacco, alcohol, drugs, pornography, alcohol. I guess we said that all a million times. Other things, careers, job. You guys were going to say. Yeah, materialism. You know what? Life is hard, so I'm going to figure this thing out, and I'm not going to be poor. I am tired of living, meekly or whatever, and so I'm going to have a career that I can buy whatever happiness that I need, and so forth. The career also is, obviously, people will look at me differently. If I am a CEO, or if I am the captain, or if I am the manager, or whatever else, all the people, there'll be lots of people below me that will have to look up at me, and that will make me feel like I have some significance.
It's a way for you to check out also. Just like with alcohol, drugs, you throw yourself into your work, you can check out. I mean, you're checking out the reality.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, there's certainly dangers there. Carl's saying, you can check out, you can be so engrossed. I want to go to some examples, and I let me see, maybe I can. Guys, is life easy today for anybody? I don't really think hardly anybody has life going on easy. I can name some different names to you. I can say Michael Jackson. And you can think of the struggles. Now, some of you are so young, but Brian and I, that was right in our prime time area. He's on drugs. He's trying to figure things out. I want to be a celebrity. I think of Ryan White, and befriending little Ryan White, and Never Everland, or whatever his place was called. I get that confused with Elvis's Graceland, but whatever. And just all kinds of, stuff. I think of, I saw, who did I see? Maybe it was a commercial last night of, he was on Grease, John Travolta. And if you don't know the heartaches and the pain and suffering that the Travolta family has gone through, wow. I don't know that life is really easy for very many people. I won't be a jerk, but I think I just to bring this a little bit closer to home in a different sort of a thing. You think of A.J. Foyt and the fact that, when they think of famous race car drivers in America, maybe somebody will say Dale Jr., but they're probably